This is the simplest circuit array. So this one here is your pressure reducing valve. This control the pressure downstream, this area. Okay? This is your upstream. This is where you set your 50 bar, but the same 725 psi. So let's put our unit to psi. This one here is your relief. This is where you measure your 150 psi at 5 liters. Okay, so we put at 5 liters per minute. So you can read that in this flow meter, Q1. Alright? Now, let's say this relief here, that spring, all the way in. So you wind in. Okay? Because you need that to adjust this relief to 150 psi at 5 liters per minute. If that is all the way in, the opening is, the neutral position is A and C, but close. Remember, this is close, okay? Whatever pressure this gallery, same pressure here. This is your pilot pushing that spool, okay? Or push the puppet, whatever. This one here, also, the opening neutral is 1 and 2, okay? Because of the arrow. If the spring force overcome by the pressure here, what is the opening now? So if that spring, if this spring overcome by this pressure, this spool here will move to like that. And what is the opening now?
2 and 3.
2 and 3. So meaning you're draining the 2 and 3 but maintaining that pressure whatever the force of that spring. Okay? Let's say you set this spring 200 psi. So you will always have a 200 psi here. Okay? Alright, so in the reality, this spool here is always like that. Find the balance. Okay? Always like that. Alright. Now, the flow here is always constant. Unless this one is closed, you cannot read flow here. Q1. Alright? Now, the pressure here is 725 psi, so you have big enough pressure because you only need 150 psi. Okay, let's say this one is fully out. This relief, this spring here is wind all the way out. What is the position of that relief? If there's a flow or there's a pressure coming from your upstream to downstream. So if that spring overcome by the pressure here, what will be the position? So I put mark A, B, and C.
If you back off the spring,
Yeah,
B, B, and C.
B and C, correct. Just a fluke. So meaning you have a continuity now.
Yeah.
See? So you can read your flow here because this one is open now. And that one back to tank. Okay. If the setting is 150 psi at 5 liters per minute, okay, on this relief, you should have a pressure reading 150 and 5 lpm on that flow meter. Right. Okay. Now, this one here, if I back this off all the way out, what will be happen?
It would become 3 and 2.
So it will become what?
3 and 2.
So let's say that is the position, and this one here is all the way in. Can you get 150 psi at 5 liters per minute? No, because it's closed.
Yeah.
And also, whatever your spring force here, because you back off all the way, it could be less than 150 psi. Regardless how much you wind this in, this relief, because this one is all the way out. Okay? Remember, this pressure reducing relieving, control the pressure here. Not here, but downstream. But this relief control the pressure upstream, not downstream. It's a bit tricky, huh? Okay. Let's say this relief position is like that. In order to happen that, the spring is what?
Back off.
Back off or overcome. Now, the pressure here, okay? Let's say the pressure there is 100 psi, okay? And then let's say 5 liters per minute, okay? So in that position, you're reading only 100 psi, 5 liters per minute. So how do you make that to 150 psi? Which one that you're gonna adjust?
The one on the left.
This.
Yeah.
So if you wind that all the way, we still have reading 100 psi because the relief. See the relief? What happened to the relief now?
Oh.
You have to increase the force of that spring
Yeah.
so that it become to increase it up to 150 psi. So meaning your relief spring is 100 psi only. It's opening. So if you increase that force of that spring, this pressure will increase as well because it will go like that. And then once the pressure here overcome the force of that spring, if you set 150, then it's relieving. Because you wind this all the way, so that is always open. 1 and 2 is always open because you wind this all the way.
Yeah.
Let's say like that. And let's say like that. How you set to 150 psi?
You would have to.
What are you gonna do first? You back this off all the way, just enough to read maybe 50 psi. Your reading is 50 psi, let's say 6 liters per minute. How are you going to rectify that? By that, in that position. If you have that position, how do you rectify that? You're reading on the gauge 50 psi. You're reading in Q1, and then the gauge, P gauge, and you want 150 psi at 5 liters per minute.
Yeah.
How you rectify it?
First, wouldn't you have to?
First what?
First, the one on the right, you have to close that one.
So if you close the right,
Yeah, Q1.
so you're cutting the flow then, okay? So you want to do that? So you close you wind that spring in.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Then there's no flow
Yeah, and then
because it's closed.
yeah, and then
You still have reading 50 psi.
and then the one on the left
Yes.
is the same. So then you can get
So what the same? What you gonna do?
screw it in. So like
Screw in
Yeah, so-
until what?
so it becomes 1 and 2.
1 and 2.
Yeah.
And then what you gonna watch? Because if you screw this in, you're adding force on the spring. So you expect what?
It to go back up to 150 psi.
So you have to check the gauge,
Yeah.
150 psi.
Yeah.
All right.
And then now you go back to Q1, and then
How are you going to back to Q1?
you back it off the spring.
This.
Yeah.
Okay. Then obviously, if you back the spring, this will overcome here.
Yeah.
Depend how much. And then you have a reading. Obviously, that one open. Let's say the open is because it dropped. It's open.
Yeah.
Pressure drop there. Become 140. And then let's say 6 liters per minute. So where do you gonna tune that?
I'm tune it at Q1.
Here, this relief.
Yeah.
Not you want relief.
Oh, relief.
Alright. So let's do that in actual. Alright?
Yeah.
So here, this is your pressure relieving valve.
Yeah.
This control the downstream pressure, which you can look at here. This gauge here that's the one. Alright? It's common also to the relief, so you need to adjust this relief. Okay. Start and then set the upstream to 50 bar or 725 psi. 50? Okay. Now I'm gonna adjust the pressure here and then you're gonna rectify it. Okay? So at the moment you have 57 psi. Q1 1.16 liters per minute. Alright? Now I want you to adjust 150 psi at 5 liters per minute. Go! So, how do you know the Q1 is reading? There's a flow in Q1. How do you know how that flow happened in Q1? Look the circuit. Look the circuit. So, in order to have a Q1, what you gonna do? So you're not watching the flow. You're watching pressure. That's why you don't know. 150, 155, that's okay. Flow 5 liters. Lock it. Lock the nut. And then recheck. And then when you check, wind that out. And then go back to 150 and see if the same. 5 liters. Yep, recheck again. Going. Keep going, 150, 155, it's okay. Alright, good. Alright, shut it off. Now, the question is, why 5 liters only, Ryan? Okay? Now, this relief here is for flushing. This is flow versus pressure. Delta P, and then Q. If you set to 150 psi, let's set to 150 psi. The relationship between flow is like that, and that one there is 50 liters per minute. So, because it's used for flushing, it's less than 50 liters per minute. Otherwise, you're losing your loop circuit flow. So even this is 5 here, 10, 30, 40. Even we set to 10 liters per minute, you still have 150. There's no change. It starts to change when it's 50 above liters per minute. So that's why we set 5 liters only at 150 psi. We can go 10 liters, but still no change because the opening is still the same. So there's no delta P difference as the flow increase up to 150, up to 50 liters per minute. So it's a good relief because that's relief is up to 95 liters per minute. That's the max flow rate. But because that relief is using in the flushing circuit, which is small amount of flow only just to dump the hot oil. So we're just setting up to here. It's the same. If you set 150 and then you bleed 10 liters per minute, there's no difference between 5 because there's no delta P there, no change. Unless if it is like that, then that's changed the setting. So you always set the relief, pressure, and how much flow coming out. Okay, that's the proper way on setting the relief.